and the battle between protecting intellectual property and internet censorship with our guest, Congressman Jim Langevin.
Good morning. Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Tim White. Joining me on the panel, my colleague, WPRI.com reporter Ted Nesi. And this week, we welcome the news editor of the Providence Phoenix, David Scharfenberg. Good morning, gentlemen. And Congressman, thank you for joining us on the program.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to start with the State of the Union, and I want to talk about Congresswoman Gabrielle Gifford. Watching that earlier this week, I saw that you sat just one seat away from her right up front. Did you get a chance at all to talk to Congresswoman Giffords?
I did, and it was certainly an emotional and moving moment seeing her walk onto the floor of the House after such a long time. She'd been back for one brief visit previous to that, but it was the first time that she had been there for a lengthy period of time, and she was there the next day. So I had the opportunity to talk to her that night, and I just told her how much we all missed her, and it was so good to see her back. It was a real inspirational, moving moment. I think the Congress needed that kind of bipartisan moment. To have her back there is very important.
Both you and Giffords share something. You were 16 years old when you were accidentally shot working with the Warwick Police Department in the Boy Scout Explorer program. While Giffords' shooting was no accident, a bullet changed both of your lives forever. Yes. You're further down the road than she. What advice do you have for her?
To keep doing what she's doing. Her story obviously is very moving and inspirational. It's an incredible comeback story. The fact that that terrible attack, and she's making remarkable progress. I certainly understand that she needs to take time right now to focus on her health and her recovery. And then she even said that she wants to serve again, and that she says she will be back. And I believe that. I believe that someday she will run for public office again. She'll be serving in some capacity or another in public service, and she still has a lot to offer. And that infectious smile was still there, and that gleam in her eye, and I know she loved being there and being back. But I certainly respect and understand her decision to have to focus on her health right now, and we support her in every way in that decision.
Let's talk about the State of the Union. The President had a lot of ideas there, a whole laundry list. But can you sit here and say with a straight face right now that anything of substance is going to get through Congress this year?
Well, no doubt we're in an election year, but the President's speech was very much focused on policy and his leadership, his vision for where he needs to lead and wants to lead the country. He focused a lot on job creation, getting the economy back on track. That's exactly what the American people expect him to be focusing on right now.
Yeah, that's nice, but is he going to have the support of Congress?
In some things he'll have support. Clearly the Democrats are behind his message. I've been working on things like closing the skills gap. That's what he talked about in his speech. It's been frustrating for me to go around Rhode Island realizing how many people are unemployed, and I'm meeting with business owners, and I ask invariably, are you hiring? Do you plan to hire? What's the job situation here at this company? And they say yes, very often, that we are hiring or plan to hire, but the problem is they're having trouble finding qualified workers with the skills they need to do the jobs in things like IT and other areas of technology. So I've been working right now on trying to close the skills gap, both in a bipartisan way with my colleague G.T. Thompson from Pennsylvania, and we co-chair the Career and Technical Education Caucus. We're trying to get federal money for job retraining. That's a bipartisan effort, and we need to do more of that.
I wonder, though, Congressman, the New York Times ran a big article last weekend on why the iPhone isn't made in America. And it was a fascinating read, especially in a state like Rhode Island that's lost so many jobs to China, from what studies show us. And I know you've been talking now for well over a year a lot about worker retraining, but as I read that article, that almost seemed like it's not an idea that measures up to the size of the challenge. I mean, another part of the challenge is how much of the supply chain in manufacturing has moved all the way to Asia, how much lower costs are there, and how the economies of scale when you have everything together, and the fact that workers there will get out of bed on a Sunday morning and do 12-hour shifts when Steve Jobs switches from a plastic iPhone to a glass iPhone. I mean, is worker retraining enough for are there really not so many jobs out there going unfilled that we can put all the Rhode Islanders who are unemployed into them if they just had a different set of skills?
So clearly we need to close the skills gap by training workers for jobs that are available now and well into the 21st century in things like technology. But we also need to change the tax code. The President talked about that in the State of the Union address. The tax code right now incentivizes companies moving jobs overseas. Why should we be rewarding companies to move jobs overseas? We should change the tax code, reward companies that bring those jobs back home or create those jobs here in America, particularly manufacturing. We can do that, and that should be something that we should work on.
Yeah, but that goes back to my original question. Is that a realistic possibility for 2012, changing the tax code to make that happen? You honestly think that's going to happen through Congress?
The President has said that he wants to work in a bipartisan way to readjust the tax code to make sure that we're rewarding companies that create jobs here.
He says a lot of things. You're sitting in Congress. Can you say that that is going to be something that could get through Congress right now?
There's no doubt that this has been among the most partisan Congresses that I've seen in my 12 years now being there. And there are some people that are there, if their sole intention, as Mitch McConnell has said, is their focus is on defeating President Obama at the polls in November, and that's what they're going to focus on, then nothing's going to get done, or those things are not going to get accomplished. But I do believe that there are members of Congress on both sides of the aisle that put country first, want to put politics aside, and want to do what's right on behalf of the American people. I have been trying to work in a bipartisan way to try to do that, as I said, with G.T. Thompson on the closing the skills gap legislation on career and technical education issues. I also have been working in a very bipartisan way on cybersecurity. It's something that is important to the country. It also means, of course, jobs, though. That means training our young people to go into the technology jobs in cybersecurity. They're going to result in meaningful careers going forward. I've created the Cyber Challenge here in Rhode Island, and it's happening in several states across the country, where we take these kids that like computers, that are good at computers, and we put them through a series of tests and challenges, and we reward them with awards and prizes for the high scores. But it's about getting these kids thinking about not just computers as a hobby and something that they happen to be good at, but something that could actually be a career for them.
In regard to cybersecurity,